township schools ahead of the phased reopening next month. NGOs and teacher unions have called on the Education Department to ensure learners are not at risk when they go back to school. To discuss this further, we're joined via Skype by Hopolang Selebalo with Equal Education. Hopolang is the co-head of research. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to us this morning, Hopolang.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Did the minister do enough to convince parents that come the 1st of June, teaching and learning will resume?
No, actually, I mean, that would definitely be our starting point, is that the minister didn't allay the fears that parents and learners have with regard to returning to schools in 2 weeks' time. And yesterday definitely presented an opportunity for the department to provide clear, concise, detailed plans about how they intend for schools to resume, and outline the plan that they've put in place to ensure that schools are safe. And have been provided with the resources that they need. And if in case those resources aren't at schools yet, when that would actually happen, but that's not what happened yesterday. The minister also, I mean, and importantly so, highlighted the importance of learners being in school. She cited UNESCO, the World Health Organization about the repercussions of learners being out of school for too long, a reality that we're faced with in South Africa on an ordinary day. But she didn't explain to parents that are legitimately afraid and to learners that are legitimately afraid about the science that influenced the decision to reopen schools. She spoke about getting the best evidence to inform this decision, having consulted with the National Coronavirus Command Council, but she didn't speak to the details of it that would then put those fears to rest.
Just out of interest, have you done your own scan of the country in terms of taking us through some of the concerns regarding the state of readiness of the schools themselves, especially rural and township schools?
We haven't done an audit of that kind as of yet, or a survey of that kind yet. But in our reality, the work that we've been doing for the last decade has been very much in relation to the issues that are confronting us now. So inadequate and unsafe sanitation, schools that lack access to water, overcrowded classrooms. Perimeter fencing, etc., etc. I could go on. That's the work we've been doing for the last decade. We have reiterated time and again about how problematic it is that the department has been so slow in ensuring that these basic necessities are met and not actually complying with the norms and standards for school infrastructure, which are regulations that they adopted and that we advocated for a very long time. So we found ourselves at this point in time with the emergence of a global pandemic. That there are almost 4,000 schools across the country and predominantly in rural areas that don't have that use only plain pit latrines. The department just presented a couple of weeks ago that there are around 3,500 schools in need of emergency water, whereas data that we accessed a while ago said that there are no schools in this country that don't need access. Zero schools, all schools basically have access to water, which is actually turning out not to be so, which is what learners and principals have been telling us for a long time, that actually our school doesn't have any water. So the work that we've been doing is starker now. It's been a problem, obviously, for years, but now is coming into sharper focus because we need these essentials, these necessities, for schools to reopen safely.
You mentioned something earlier in the conversation, a concern about the science being used in the decisions that the minister has taken. It's become an overall concern. During the week, these stories have been breaking about not just the education space, but the overall country response to COVID-19, about the basis of the decisions. We were just speaking to Kosatu a few moments ago. They also have similar concerns. What are your thoughts about these complaints? Why do you think it is that government is not consulting the people they are supposed to be consulting in terms of getting to these conclusions?
I am not, and we are not public health experts, so a critique of the science would be difficult for me. But the issue that we do have is that in her speech yesterday, on the 30th of April, the minister didn't articulate what the science actually says. That's the problem. She just said, with the best evidence. What is this evidence? Could you explain this evidence? And also, we're in an environment where there is contradictory information being provided publicly with regard to the science, and we're told that the science is evolving. So there are all these complexities that I am no expert and cannot speak on. But we are told that this is a complicated issue. The science is evolving. We've got a myriad of opinions, but the minister did not articulate to us, to learners, to parents, to teachers. Okay, so this is the information that we have.
Yeah.
Either learners are low risk, or that we're worried that teachers might be at risk. But these are the
I suppose
the
it's an
measures that
ongoing.
we'll put in place to ensure.
I suppose it's an ongoing conversation, and thank you so much for making the time to talk to us today. Hopolang Selebalo is with Equal Education. Now, here's a breaking.